Somalia, as usual, is a male-dominant society. But as a woman, there was a group trying to challenge that woman and take what they have the rights. But after 2006, there was Islamists who was come to the power. That they are Islamic cause, and now the government is from that Islamic cause. So there is no hope of women, and except to raise the kids that their fathers was there. Except to work, and most of the women now they are the people who go to the market and doing the work to raise the kids. That's the whole of the work that we have in Somalia, whether it's the government or the other institutions. An example for the journalists. We were working last 15 years, but as the Islamists came to the power, our role was very little. Some of my colleagues for the women journalists, that's the people I'm talking, they began to cover their face, not to recognize. Some of us, we stopped going out and working and participating in the news conference. If we try to go there, whenever they see you are a woman, they will say, go back. And that's the new rule of the Islamists in Somalia. But there is an active woman, there is a group of women, but they live outside the country. And that's the women who now campaigning to get their role in this government and reconciliation. But the inside woman, their role is very little.
Thank you.
I will just perhaps add to what she just said by saying that the African Union has been trying to make sure that women in big part participate adequately in the peace process. If I should mention that AMISOM does have a gender component to it. Time does not allow us to discuss the full structure of the mission itself, but a gender component was added to it to try to support the participation of women in the peace process. But overall, gender equity is an overall, I would say, one of the founding principles of the African Union. And perhaps some of you know that the African Union Commission is gender balanced in the sense that there are 5 female commissioners and 5 male commissioners. And this is a policy which the AU is encouraging member states to adapt, and it's also trying to implement it in the peace negotiations that it is conducting. Regarding the question of whether the northern part of Somalia should be recognized as independent, I would say that the basic commitment of the AU now is for the territorial integrity and peace and security in Somalia. This, as a regional organization, as an intergovernmental organization, that discussion really is not for us as AU to negotiate or to initiate. We believe that, as the Ambassador has said, the transition will be conducted, and the governance structure that will emerge from there will depend on the sovereign will of the Somalis themselves. So it is something which we will leave really to the Somali people to decide. Regarding the question for my sister on the representation of Africa in the Security Council, there are 2 African countries who sit in the Security Council. Currently, there are 2 seats for Africa in the Security Council, 2 non-permanent seats though. And they are currently being held by Burkina Faso and Libya. So there is a voice, they represent Africa, and I believe that they try as much as they can to represent the African perspective in the discussions of the Council. But however, you may be also aware that there is a process of Security Council reform, which is under discussion. Africa has a common position, which was adopted in Ezowini, which is asking for 5 seats for Africa, and for 2 of them to be permanent seats with full powers, including the veto. So this is a discussion that is ongoing because the African continent feels that it is an injustice and an imbalance for an entire continent not to be adequately represented in such an important body, which also devotes a significant amount of its work to Africa. So we believe that Africa should have adequate representation, equitable representation in the council, and for it to be allowed to choose its representatives to sit on the council. But this is a discussion that is ongoing, and we do hope that we will see progress in terms of the quality or the quantity or the permanence of Africa's representation in the council, because countries for now come in for 2 years, and at the end of 2 years, they are replaced by other countries. And so, in as much as we try to promote continuity in the representation of Africa, that does present problems because then 2 years is not a very long time in international affairs. So we believe that if there is permanent representation for Africa in the Council, it will improve the quality of its work, and it is a more balanced and just and more democratic Council will emerge from such a process where all the regions of the world are adequately represented. So I agree with you, but yes, currently there is a representation which is trying as much as it can, and the countries have been rotating in and out of the Council for the past decades. And what we are seeking now is to have permanent representation and for it to have the full powers that belong to the others. Just one really quick word on youth. Just to say that it is also something which the African Union is seeking to correct. I would say some of the lack of attention on youth in Africa, because we have two peace-building processes going on in Liberia and in Sierra Leone, and one of the major issues that have come out of those is that the issue of youth is key for the consolidation of peace in our countries. And in this respect, one of the charters that has been adopted by the AU pertains to youth. It is a very broad-based charter that was initiated by youth themselves, but that was adopted by heads of state, and we are in the process of trying to encourage member states to implement it. And the same goes for gender issues. Some of you might know that the African Protocol on the Rights of Women is the most far-reaching of among the instruments that exist in international environment for now. So these are issues that we as organization are trying to encourage our member states to address in the local level. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Thank you. We're actually being asked to conclude, so I'm not sure how to do this because, yeah, we're actually way over time right now. So if